Hey, it's Sophie Ren. I'm so excited for today. Today, we are doing a little class on find your priorities. And this is so important if you have a never-ending to-do list, a feeling of overwhelm, a feeling of confusion of what do I even start on next? I have so much to do. I find that that can give me a analysis paralysis where I just don't do a lot at all, or you can find yourself scrolling on your phone or wasting time that you really need for all the things you want to do. And so I'm going to be sharing some of the techniques that I have found helpful so that way you know exactly what to do next. You can get rolling on something and check something off of your list and not waste time. And also to have that feeling where you're not like on this never ending treadmill, but you can really like move the needle and feel a sense of progress, feel a sense of building up towards something really important that you're actually going to feel satisfied about the results of. And it's easy to just do, but to really move the needle and dig in the right spot, as I like to say, so that you find that treasure is really important. So we're going to help you define your priorities so you can do that today. So I'm going to switch to some slides. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, right. Okay, great, great, great. So for today, we are going to find our priorities so that you know what to do next in your business, book, or creativity by tapping into your soul. And what does that mean? I'm going to explain, I promise. So if you don't already know me, let me just introduce myself briefly. My name is, let me just tell you, my name is Sophia Wren. You might know that, you might not know that. And if you don't know me that well, or you need a little reminder, I spent over 25 years writing and publishing online. I actually created my first website when I was 8 years old, and I'm 37 now. So we're getting towards 30 years, but we're just going to say over 25 years. And I've spent over 10 years as a business owner, mostly helping writers and entrepreneurs to make faster progress on their writing or their marketing. But let me just have a caveat that the things that I really like helping people with are soul work, are meaningful, involve their purpose. And creativity and this process of being a conscious business owner, it involves all of you. So you have to have balance, the things going on in your relationships or your life can end up impacting your business or your writing. So I really work with people in a kind of holistic sense as a whole person, as a whole beautiful being, in the coaching and teaching work that I do, because that I think is the crux of creative progress is that we move our whole selves forward, not just hustle, hustle, hustle. And I am a former workaholic, so that's part of where I'm coming from, that I know what it's like to just prioritize the work and to not take care of myself, and how I never really seemed to get as far as I thought I was going to get. And that's because that mindset was fundamentally flawed. So now I try to work smarter and not harder and do more of what is meaningful. Again, more of those things that leave me feeling like, that was a good day's work. I have done enough. I can rest, put my feet up now. And I don't have that sense of always needing to do more and more and more and more, without ever arriving to a sense of being in a good place. I'm really more about building, doing meaningful work that I feel satisfied by, and that I can give myself like a pat on the back. You did a good job. You did good stuff today. I don't have that uncertainty of like, did I do enough? I don't know. Let me try another Facebook post. I am out of that workaholic hustle mindset, and I'm in more of a meaningful, conscious, a little bit slower pace in my life now. Okay. So our goal today is to home in on what is meaningful for you to work on in this week, to get clear on your priorities. Again, some of these priorities might be life priorities, some of these priorities might be the work and creative priorities. And so they're all welcome here today. And I'm just gonna oops, trying to pin myself. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that is our goal, to get you clear on your priorities so you know what to do next and you don't have to deal with any analysis paralysis or putting your energy in one pocket of things you could do instead of what really matters, so you don't have regrets looking back on your time. Now we're going to dive into our class. And And here we go. Okay, so let's grab a piece of paper to do like a little check-in of like what the status is today. I like to do a little status temperature taking at the beginning of every class. And so let's just again, this is really just for you. So don't feel like you have to share your answer with me or anything, but just so you can articulate it for yourself and have a record in your notes. What do you use for a to-do list? Like what if you have a system right now, what is it? Even if it's not like a system you sat down to like do, but it's just what you're doing. Like, let's just take a minute to reflect on that. What do you use for a to-do list? Do you have it written in a certain place? Do you do multiple places? And do you write in different places for your long-term goals, like for a month or a season or a year, versus a daily or weekly type of thing you need to do? So let's just take 2 minutes to write on that. Okay, we're gonna wrap that one up. And then we're going to move into another set of questions. And the new questions are, how do you know what is a priority? So when you are looking at your to-do list or thinking about where to put your energy, is there a certain, do you have a process or do you have a set of questions you ask yourself? Like kind of what is your thought process behind how do you know what is a priority? Is it based on how you feel or how you think? Just wondering and just reflecting for yourself, how do you know what is a priority? And do the things that are a priority to you generally get done in your world? Just to reflect on the status of things. Starting a timer for 2 minutes. Okay, about 30 seconds left. Okay, I'm just wrapping up my sentence. Okay. Okay, we're just rolling through it today. We might even end early. So that's awesome. So let's just take a minute. We're gonna take a minute to tune in and kind of do like a little meditation of sorts to just kind of clear our mind. So that way we can get into this week and into all of the other things to tackle. So I'm just put my notebook down, getting comfortable in my seat a little bit. If you need to take a little sip of water, I'm gonna have a little sip of water so that my mouth isn't dry. Okay. All right. So we're going to do an exercise that is inspired by a really great book um, that I'm trying to find. So remember the actual name of it. Well, I can't find it right now. But it's basically about the idea of uh, building the future, you know, and really thinking about our future. So let's do that. The future scares me, but we can do it. We can be brave. Okay. Imagine yourself in the future. So let's say 6 months from now, a year from now, you might be in a certain place. Could be in a certain place with your work, could be in a certain place in your life. Just sort of let any impressions form in your mind or in your heart about where you might be in a year and even 5 years. And to us, that feels like so long from now, right? But now I want you to imagine a century from now. Obviously, we're not going to be here, but there's other folks. Other folks will definitely be here. And what if we could influence them from everything that we get to do in our life? What if people living a century from now, 2 centuries from now, what would that feel like to leave an impact on this planet that's felt 100 years from now, 200 years from now? If you feel like that's even maybe 10%, 2% possible, let's just like believe in that possibility for a second and just take a deep breath. That whether we say hello to someone in the elevator or something bigger than that, that can have a ripple effect that can last 200 years or more. Let's believe it's possible. So just feeling that possibility, take another deep breath in, that we can be a part of meaningful work that will be that enduring, maybe. Feel that vibration in your body. Where does that live in your body? That sense of possibility and hope and belief that we can make that impact. If you can feel that in your body, just try to amplify it a little bit more, 3% more. Feeling it in your body. And if you could give it a color, what color would you give it? Just imagining it. All things are possible in this meditation, so don't judge what you get. Opening up our minds, opening up our creativity. And just keep taking deep, really deep breaths in all the way down belly so the belly moves. Giving yourself permission to just play with the possibility. And taking another deep breath. We do not need to know how. We're just going to play with the possibility. And with your next breath, imagine you can bring in that feeling of possibility and that color maybe all the way down into your legs. And another one, just bringing it all the way through your body. And with the next one, bring it all the way down into the earth. And another one. And as we do this, we're just sort of setting that intention to ground this feeling of possibility. This wonderful, amazing possibility that we don't even know the impact that we're going to have. It is so mind blowing. We can't even imagine it. But we're going to be open minded and taking more deep breaths in, just trying to lock in that feeling a little bit more that it is possible. Okay, so with another breath in, and then now we're going to shake our body a little bit, shake it out. Okay, I know that might have been different and it might have been weird, but I love that meditation. I think it is so helpful. And now we're going to brainstorm a little bit. So let's brain dump. If anything came up for you in that meditation, it could have been like your mind being like, that's not possible. Or it could have been like the feeling of like, wow, that felt really good. Let's write down about whatever you felt. And then also the other questions here. What else is on your mind for the season ahead? What projects do you need to work on or things you need to get done? So feel free to go out of order or put it in a list or put it in a mind map where you're just doing like circles and jots all over the page, or you can write paragraphs. It's up for you, but just make sure that you write down whatever insight or feeling you got from the meditation, just so you remember that. Oh, lovely. Marissa says she got a light pink energy. Lots of good stuff. I got a purple vibe. So I'm gonna write about that. We got 3 minutes. Let me start the timer. Okay, 30 more seconds. Okay. So let's take a minute now to just go with our gut and as an experiment. As an experiment. So let's put a star, or you could use a highlighter, you know, mark in some way three things. They could be like overall themes that you kind of identified here, or they could be three individual tasks. Totally trust yourself on what is resonating, but pick three things from your list or your writing that you want to pay attention to right now and don't overthink it. So I'll give you 1 minute. Pick three of these things and mark them as more important just for this class. Okie dokie. Okay, so this just give us a starting point for our next activity. So I'm going to talk about something, and for this purpose, I'm going to stop screen sharing. I feel like I want to show my face. Let's stop. Okay, so I'm still gonna look at my notes, but I wanted to share it as a person. So I want to talk about something that it might be controversial because it isn't how people normally talk about things. But I'm very much a lifelong creative person. Like I never used to think I was creative, but I definitely have embraced that about myself. And I basically see it as my religion. Like if there's anything else I dedicate my life to, it is doing meaningful creative work and kind of being where the universe wants to put me. And I really trust that it has worked out in my favor so much more than my mind trying to control everything and thinking I know everything that's going to happen and I can foresee problems. And I have like there was one time when I really wanted to get acupuncture, but I was going to meet some friends, and if I went and got acupuncture I would have been like 15 minutes or 20 minutes late to see my friends. So I was like, I don't know, I think that would be stressful, so let's just go there early to see my friends instead. And on my way to see my friends, I got in a car crash. And I would not have been in that route at that time if I had just gone and gotten the acupuncture for myself. And that's where stuff like that, where it's like my mind thinks it's so smart, but sometimes my gut and something else knows something smarter than me. So when I got the tingle a few years ago to go to Japan, which felt very out there, very weird for me to kind of drop everything in my life and go move to Japan for a year, I listened to it and I ended up meeting my husband, who is so amazing, who was also living there. So, and now we live in America, long story short. But anyway, I do believe in kind of trusting something bigger than me. And that's why when I set my priorities, if I can remember, because I'm only human, I really, really want to tap into something deeper, um, and connect and kind of open my mind up. So whether it's my creativity speaking, or my intuition speaking, or my gut, or my body speaking, or literally something bigger than me in the universe, it really doesn't matter. because it all kind of amounts to the same kind of information for me. I do believe that our minds kind of piece together information in ways that we're not always conscious of, like putting a little puzzle piece together and then bam, you get the final puzzle piece. So like if you get a vibe about a person, you're like, I don't really know why I'm suspicious of them. And then later that proves to be correct. It's because you were putting together those little data points and like outputted a thing. I've had that with bosses that I found out were like stealing from me. It was like, gotta trust that vibe. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be opening ourselves up to that sort of information using a concept that I call the creative soul. So I like to believe that just like you can imagine yourself in the future, you can imagine all your things being done. Let me take some water because my throat is being. Hmm. Okie doke. Yeah. So if you imagine that, you're in the future, the things that you're creating, in the future, hopefully are completed. Let's say if you were writing a book or you were teaching a class or you would um, complete an exercise challenge or something. Like, let's imagine that that is completed, and it has finally coalesced into some kind of tangible result. I like to believe that that book or that business or that lifestyle change kind of it has its own spirit. It has its own dance. It has its own heartbeat. It has its own rhythm. It has its own consciousness of a sort. It's not the same as us, but it wants what it wants for us. And I think it means well and it wants well for us. But our minds can kind of get in the way because, we think we understand everything when actually life is so complex. There's things that we don't know. So I like this because I like the idea of it being a partner to me. So if I'm trying to write a book, my book wants me to write it and it's trying to help me and give me little hints. If I have a business, it wants me to be successful and it's trying to make sure I don't forget to sleep and I don't forget to like take care of myself. Like it really has my best interest at heart and it knows my blind spots better than me. And so having like a dialogue with it is a way for me to stay creative and open and kind of see things from another angle so that I can gain visibility in my blind spots. I think that's a good metaphor. And so if what you're creating already has a vision, then we can kind of tap into that vision and see things from a more dimensional point of view. So this is what I have been working on like my whole life. And it's like I said, it's like practically my religion. And I really feel like it's what makes things meaningful when we can get out of just our analytical frame of mind, especially when we get stressed about time or all the things we have to do, we can get really kind of narrow focused. So I think at least once a week or every 2 weeks or something, it's good to check your priorities from a wider point of view. And today we're going to do that by connecting to this creative soul, connecting to the spirit of what you're working on or whatever you're trying to achieve. So if you think about your top 3, 4 things, is there like an overarching umbrella that you could put them under? Like, is it related to a business? Is it related to work? Is it related to life? Is it related to creativity? If you can kind of like encapsulate some of it into one word, like I'm going to say for me, it's business, pretty much. Although there's definitely a life thing in there. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to start sharing again. What we're going to do an exercise I love to do, which is writing it a letter. I think it's a great way to like I said, get in more creative space with this. And it's a great confidant. It's a great way to, I've learned so much. When I first started doing this, it changed my whole life. And a lot of people are just blown away by doing this. So I use the example of business, but feel free to change that dear part to whatever resonates for you. Okay, so you can change that to dear book, dear creative practice, whatever makes sense. So dear blank, today I feel ... I have these questions on my mind. I'm hoping for something. Can you help? What is really important in the situation? What is the priority this week? Thank you for your help. Okay. And then I put my next idea is in case you kind of complete a question and then you want to get into something else because you'll have 5 minutes. So you might be able to talk about a few things. But especially if you look at your top priorities, is there anything that immediately comes up of like, this is feeling really hard, or I feel overwhelmed, or I feel like I don't have enough time to do this, or like, what if I get it wrong? You know, does it spur any of these things that would make it harder for you to actually execute this? Okay, so let's use this conversation as sort of related to executing on these priorities and also seeing our blind spots on them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the 5 minute mark. And we'll just journal for that 5 minutes using this as a template to bounce off. Feel free to change it, but just to give you an idea. Okay. Give you a few seconds to wrap up. Going to have you also say thank you to whoever you're talking to. Let's write it down like, thanks for talking with me. Okay, so takeaways, if anyone would like to share, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, but I will just say that, of course, mine was like, hey, you didn't make self care your priority. And like, don't forget about that because the last 2 weeks were very busy and you were feeling a little burnt out from that. So make sure not to do the same thing this week. And I was like, oh, yeah, good to remember. I think, especially when I start like going in a busy season, I can get so busy that like even just the word self care, I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't even know. Is that like, yeah, I need to kind of reacclimate to what that means for a regular week versus an extremely busy week. So that's what I got reminded of in my blind spots. Oh, cool beans. Yes. Yeah, Marissa's saying when you take the time to fill your cup, you're so much more productive. It sometimes feels like a waste, but it's definitely not. That is so true. And I even have a cute little shirt that I got this like in the last few years. It says like, taking care of yourself is productive. And it's such a good reminder. And I have another shirt. It says doing the best I can, whatever that looks like today, because sometimes our best changes. So I feel like that is definitely true. Good reminders, something we all need, right? And so maybe I'll just try to keep that in mind and see where that takes me. Yeah, I wanted to leave today a little bit open, because sometimes these things just sort of stir stuff and it's not like, okay, now schedule your priorities into your week. It's like we kind of got some new information and now I think it's good to kind of like let it settle in, let it churn. Let's just keep an eye out for where we can pop in some of that new information that we got that was in our blind spot. Like, just sort of keep our eyes open for how that might guide us. And again, you can do it weekly or you can even do it daily. One of my things I got when I was writing is like, why don't you do this daily for a while? Because maybe you need it. So I always teach things that I need to hear. So it is definitely something to keep in mind. So I'm really proud that we got so much done in so little time. I mean, can you believe it? It's not even been 50 minutes. Um, so kudos us. Let's give ourselves a pat on the back for doing this. The reason why I wanted to do a class is because it's so easy for us to hear about, I mean, like there's so many like articles and like things that you could hear someone talk about, oh, I do this exercise every day, or oh, I go and do this thing, but you're not actually gonna like go sit down and do it. And so why I like having like a class or something is because then, we sat down, we did it. You've got things you can read over that you wrote down if you forget what happened. And that might be beneficial in a few days to like read over what you wrote. And it's like done. And so, um, but yeah, you can come back to these exercises to recenter, reflect, and recharge. Absolutely. Thanks for joining me, Marissa, and anybody watching the replay, thanks for watching. And yeah, I'm gonna call it there and I'm gonna go do some self-care, just like I'll use my last little 10 minutes of the hour to do self-care. So I'll see you later. See you. Big hugs.